the recording. And we could officially say welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Johnny Lee with the ePanic button, and we're going to be talking about front desk security. And with that, I'll mention this later, but it's really meant for, this program is for the front desk folks, for the people actually running the front desk, and what we could do to ensure their safety. Roughly it's going to be about 3/4 of an hour. I welcome input, and also if you have audio problems, again, hit me up, let me know. But you can go to this questions tab, and you could let me know about issues. And I'm not, greedy or whatever. I welcome you to speak your mind as well. You could just say, "Hey, Johnny, give me the mic," and I'll unmute your mic, and you're welcome to speak as well. And then there will be a link to the recording sent to you. If you don't get it, then let me know, because I'm not sure if that setting was enabled, and I'll just post that afterwards, or send you an email. That's me. I run ePanic button. Oh, I got a new program out called the Threat Assessment Tool. Peace at Work is another organization I run that does more of the consulting and speaking. I was with the state of North Carolina as a workplace violence specialist. I do public health prevention, violence prevention through Injury Prevention Research Center in Chapel Hill, and then of course doing victim services work with the Asheville Police Department. Okay, here we go. This program is really, again, meant for those front desk employees. I hope administrators and managers may find some tools and tips, but it's really for, the hardline, what are you supposed to do, and what you could, maybe use this as a training for your employees. Again, you're welcome to use the recording. I'll talk a little about statistics, the layout. Comes down to the actual access control and layout of the facilities. Talk a little bit about technology and policies and the importance of tracking issues. So this is sort of more administrative sort of issues, but then we're going to talk more about how you can directly deal with crime prevention and preventing people from becoming too hostile. One of the points I want to make here is that even though we're talking about active shooters and guys coming in with guns a-blazing, 99.9999% of the incidents do not involve that level of threat. It's the obnoxious visitor. It's the hostile client. It's the angry guy that we need to address, because that could sort of escalate. Let me I see we have another question here. I would love some drill scenario suggestions to incorporate in our agency's workplace violence training. So sure, I think I took some of those slides out in interest of time, but I'm a big fan of experiential learning, and so one thing that I emphasize, and I'll talk about this throughout this program, I'll try to remember that, is to practice someone coming in, practicing handling de-escalation, and then practice summoning support. And then, who are you summoning? Are you contacting a manager or a coworker? How do they respond? I have a separate presentation called Prevention Teams that focuses more on that, but I'd be glad to discuss. I'll remember this question throughout this presentation, so I'll make some suggestions on scenarios and drills, especially around this bottom part about dealing with the hostile clients. Okay, just a little disclaimer. Of course, it's a webinar, folks, so take for what you can. It's going to be about an hour long. Hopefully, I'll give you some tips, and that's what I hope to really give you, a few little things to remember you could use next time you're in a situation. But of course, if you've got unique situations, threatening cases, that requires a little more attention and resources to handle it. Again, I've got plenty of model policies and procedures. We've got a front desk security guide that you're welcome to, but adapt it for your own unique industry, location, geography, and layout. But we all love to talk about case examples, and by the way, there's great stuff on my YouTube channel, and then if you just Google this, you could find this horrible case where we have a front desk situation. We've got receptionists who are for the judge. This guy had a beef with the judge and didn't really appreciate a certain ruling, so he comes back with a big old assault weapon. And the thing is, like, judges, CEOs, principals, directors, sometimes are way back at the top and they can't be reached readily,
but you can get to that front desk person, and that's who's unfortunately, the target. So, and fortunately in this case, no one was killed. When he fired through this door, there's a lady hiding in a desk over here, and he hit her in the leg, but she survived. My point is, okay, I'm sort of contradicting myself here. These incidents do occur. I just want to say that it's relatively rare. The bigger issue, of course, is the lower forms of violence. The important thing is that this guy at some point had an issue. He had an argument. I bet he expressed his grievance with the courthouse. It's recording it, noting it, and following up that might have prevented it from escalating to this level. And that's what I hope for. A little 101, I just want to describe when we talk about workplace violence that OSHA came up with this model of 3 types. Type 1 is robbery, and this, well, no, I'm not going to say, but robbery is like convenience stores, fast food places, pharmacies. The people have no business with the organization. They come in there for their own purpose. And by the way, I think terrorism kind of falls under this. We could quote-unquote call terrorism falls into this category. Type 2 is customers and clients, and this is one of my biggest concerns for the front desk because reception, front desk serves the visitors, and the visitors in a sense are the customers and clients, so we're going to focus a lot there today. Type 3 is coworker or ex-employees, where people typically think of workplace violence, and the Naval Yard shooting actually falls under that category because he was an employee of a contractor who was serving the IT needs of the Naval Yard. The 4th type is domestic violence that spills over into the workplace. And by the way, this could apply to coworkers having an intimate relationship. So you have 2 employees, or an employee and a vendor or a customer in an intimate relationship. I really look at the motive. What's the issue at hand? Is it robbery, crime related? Is it a beef with the services? Is it some grievance? Or is it a personal, intimate jealousy issue? That leads to it. So those are the factors. But hey, enough of me talking. I want to know what you think. What do you think the biggest threat is? Oh, wait, come back here. What do you think the biggest concern is nationally? Like, so if we know, and we actually do know, how most people are killed, murdered in the workplace, what do you think it is? Hey, I thought I launched it. Where's my... oh, so hopefully you could view the poll now. Yes, my thing says that it's you don't see the poll, but I guess you do. So what do you think? How do most people die from homicide at work? And this is a separate question from what you think your greatest concern is. If you work in a mental health facility, psychiatric unit for mentally ill people, then no doubt customer and clients are your biggest concern. If you work in a Wendy's late at night or a Papa John's delivering pizza, then, type 1 would be your biggest threat. Okay, folks, I'm wrapping it up because we got a lot to do. So if you're hemming and hawing, just click something because I'm ending it. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, what did you all think? Let's see what the audience view looks like. My audience view doesn't show the thing. Hopefully you all could see the results. It says that you're viewing the poll results. Yeah, it's kind of split. I was looking between coworkers or ex-employees and then domestic violence as the least, but it's almost like broadly across, so customer and clients being a big one, and then robbery being the least concern, or thinking it's the least concern. Oh, good, you could see it. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. All right, so that's awesome. Let me show you the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So what are they? I forgot what the division is. Well, it's Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Robbery is off the chart. Robbery is like in the 450 people die from robbery. So I just want to emphasize that type 1 robbery is by far the leading cause of death from violence in the workplace, intentional injury. And then you could see these figures. This is from 1997 to 2011. 2012 did come out, but I got to follow up to get the breakdown. The total numbers have reduced, but I didn't have the breakdown of coworker, client, or DV.
But as you can see, the one thing, of course, that strikes me is this rise in client-related violence. So that seems to be, of all of them, you see this red line is the clients, that is the biggest concern. In general, it looks like the coworker issues are the big one, and then domestic violence is serious, but on the lower end. One little note, I just want to because I collect data in many different ways, that this is on-the-clock employees. So this does not include like students being shot or a bystander being shot. This is not including when you clock out, like you leave at 5 o'clock and you go out to your car that's maybe parked on the street and you get shot there. That's a huge issue with domestic violence. Or the guy waiting in the parking lot before the victim clocks in for work, shoots and kills her there. That may not make this chart. Therefore, it doesn't really demonstrate the big picture. But I appreciate the way they need to collect the data and those issues. All right, let's move on. So if these are homicides, I just want to break this down a little bit more for those front desk workers. Again, I didn't pull up 2011's figures yet, but this is a time period of, 13 years. We looked at for receptionists, and if I may say, many receptionists are women in many organizations, and so sorry to say, just being a woman is a risk factor for domestic violence. Therefore, we see higher rates of homicide from domestic violence, because I'm assuming that the receptionists or secretaries or administrative assistants are women. And for women, the leading cause of death, one of the leading causes of death is homicide. And in fact, when we know that a woman was killed at work, by far about 3/4 of those homicides are caused by ex-partners, not co-workers or clients. So yeah, so there you see those figures. Okay, but this is also really important. Now this is from a different source of info, another from an insurance, a workers' comp company. And this is, I'm sorry to say, it's older data, but it's what I got. And what we see is, obviously, you could see the homicides, including robberies, which are large, and this is back in the early 90s, which there's more violence, deaths then. But the thing I really want to point out to you is look at the simple assaults. Look at the threats. Look at the estimated verbal harassment. Someone's being cursed out, yelled at, screamed at. That's 16 million occurrences every year, which is important. The two leading points about this are these things escalate. Aside from robbery, the workplace violence incidents, let's say with the coworkers, I bet there was a threat made. I bet there was a shove made at some point in many of these cases. And those things need to be addressed, even they're low level, because they can escalate. But a lot of them don't escalate. They just remain there and they don't end up in a homicide. But they still need to be addressed because they have a huge impact on the workplace. People quit. There's turnover. It impacts employee morale. It leads over into job performance issues. So we need to address lower forms of violence because it has a big impact on the environment that we work in. So that's why we need to address it. Well, who's going to address it? I just want to touch briefly on administrative approach. Ideally, even though, let's say if you're a receptionist on this webinar, you do have a role in this. You can care, you could be that squeaky wheel. For larger organizations, you typically have these different department heads, and the best practices identified is sort of a multidisciplinary approach. If I may say, I don't believe that workplace violence is strictly security's concern or management's concern, or HR or safety. It's really a combination of all these different factors to get their opinions in, their perspectives, to have a holistic approach. And then with that, the one thing that we want to do, there's a lot of questions around workplace violence policies and crime prevention through environmental design, but specifically I want to address the front desk and what applies right there. And with that, one of the main things that a front desk person does is that they maintain the visitors. And one suggestion I have is to have a written policy. There's tons of written policy models out there on the web. But what's your policy about people showing up? Can anyone just come in and walk around at willy-nilly?
or do you have sign-in procedures? More importantly, sign-out procedures. If I may say, I do these, maybe I'm a bit of a, troublemaker or whatever, but I might come into a building, I'll see there's a sign in, and I'll write, Mickey Mouse or, Jack White or something, and just keep walking. All you're doing is putting ink or pencil marks on a piece of paper. There's no proof unless you check it. You look at their ID, you actually look at what they sign, and then you can determine who they are. I just want to put that out there. The other thing is, very often I arrive when I visit clients, I sit at the front desk, make small talk with the receptionist. They call my contact, the contact meets me. And well, actually more and more I'm being escorted out, like the guy politely, or the woman, escorts me out and we say goodbye. But the issue is that if I'm there a lot, and it's my 7th time there, the 5th time that I'm there, after I'm led back to the back office, it's like, oh, you know the way out, and then I'm able to walk around wherever I want. It's an important issue that people are escorted out and as well as in, especially for that corporate environment. By the way, obviously I'm not talking about retail or service establishments like restaurants. We're talking about sort of an office setting. Now, me as a vendor, I guess that's what I am, there's this question about my access and getting around. The real problem that we also see are family visitors. So someone's son, or the big one is a husband who stops by all the time, and it seems like the rules don't apply to them. I've heard of them knowing the passcode for the keypad to enter in the back room. They don't sign in. They know. Maybe they even have the swipe card they borrowed it from their wife, and they use her swipe card. In one of the incidents that, I won't pull it up right now, but in one of the incidents that occurred, a woman down in Boca Raton earlier this month, a woman announced, she told her husband about an affair she was having, and they had a brouhaha that night. And then the next day, the guy comes in and blows right past reception and goes straight to her office. Actually, he's escorted to her office, and he shoots and kills. I don't know if she died, but I know he shot her, and then he shot himself and committed suicide. The problem is with domestic violence issues is that people don't talk about the fact they just got into a huge fight with their spouse the night before, and so they're not going to tell reception about these issues. And they say, oh, there's Johnny. Okay, well, you're visiting Tara. Go on ahead and go on by. They don't have the same protections. By the way, I thought of another case, but I'll talk. Oh, heck, I'll mention it now. The other problem that I've got is with bigwigs, with CEOs, judges, representatives. In New York City, after 9/11, there was a city councilman who had a really contentious election, and after he won, he reached the olive branch out to his opponent and said, hey, election's over, I'm sorry you didn't win, it looks like the voters wanted me, but come on, let's work together, let's do that collaboration cross the aisle thing and work together. So this is in the City Council of New York City, right after 9/11, huge security. So there's metal detectors that people have to go through, but not the city councilman. The city councilmen have their own door, and he says, hey, come on, no, he's with me, don't worry about it. And they go through the back door, go up into the balcony area, the guy pulls out a gun and starts shooting people. Again, policy, you've got a policy, but if it's not followed, it's just words on a paper. God, I gotta hustle, guys. If I'm talking too fast, please let me know. Other problems is when we talk about visitors policies, is there's a sort of a caveat about banned individuals. You might have a restraining order, trespass orders, ex-employees, whoever it might be. Maybe it's you have a restraining order against an ex-husband. The question is, how is this handled? That front desk folks ideally have a picture and a name of the individual who is banned, along with their car descriptions. I just talked about how you can have video analytics pick up car tags and identify them that way. But the point is, you want to identify them as soon as possible, not coming through the door, but coming into the parking lot. Ideally, you've got a action plan in place, and this is a separate topic about security measures, but okay, you see the car, now what? That Boca Raton homicide, the lady told the receptionist, don't let my husband in. Well, you know, I have no idea what this receptionist looked like, if she was, or if it was a man or a woman, but they weren't physically able to stop the guy. And so they're saying, sir, 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 you cannot enter. That's not much of an action plan. It might be calling the police. It might be going into lockdown. It might be having a way to notify the affected party so they can run and hide. There could be access control buttons. So you could, you know, do the man trap thing. They go through the front door, but they're locked in the second door. All things like that. Another important part about policies regarding workplace violence is a real important issue about getting people to document their concerns. The front desk folks are the eyes and ears of the organization. So when I do assessments, something I'll take out the receptionist out to lunch and just be, you know, chit-chatting and having a nice time. But I'm getting all the dirt too. And I'm finding out about, oh, this one time back in, you know, 2008, this guy came in with a baseball bat and smashed his wife's rear view mirror or side view mirrors off her car. Golly, I also read all the incident reports. I don't remember seeing that incident report. There's reasons why people don't report, and we got to get over that hurdle. Receptionists might have this great knowledge database in their heads, but it's got to get reported, and that's all part of your policies and procedures. The importance of documenting these incidents is because it provides you know, of course, a bigger picture of what your concerns are. If I was to do a risk analysis, the best risk analysis is specific to your history. What's happened before is a good indicator of what will happen again. So we can look at that. The other thing that I really want to emphasize is that lots of pieces of paper and numbers and charts and pie graphs all leads to funding. If this lady just tells story after story about what's going on, maybe that'll get, you know, some traction. But if you show up at someone's desk and you've got all these folders of incidents, now you got the money that could push the issue to get the money for access control, for better cameras, for a Duress alarm system, for more training. Let's talk a little more administratively things. I know you can't really move your walls around or maybe pick up the desk, but think about the design of the layout. You want to be able to have some sort of barrier. Ideally, I like to see some sort of barrier for folks so they can escape if they need to. Oops, wow, look, that was fine. I know I checked that. But then the main thing is you want to be able to have a good, clear view, not only of the front door, but everywhere. No hidden spots are a big concern. The other factor I looked at is, can the person escape? So I love this big barrier. It'd be good for snowball fights. But, you know, the also thing I see is that if this person is stuck or they feel threatened, they can go out this door, they can go out that door. I've seen some front desk situations where the poor receptionist is truly cornered, literally cornered in there, and they don't have any escape, and that's a concern. Now, what you do have control over as a receptionist is what's on your desk, and very often some assailants come in there with weapons and they have the intent to do harm. Very often they get bad news, like they're told they can't see someone or whatever it is, they get angry and they look for weapons of opportunity. So don't give them weapons of opportunity. There's one case I knew up in Durham where it was at a DSS and this lady wanted to see a caseworker, and they said, well, you need an appointment. She goes, I don't need any appointment. She grabs this big heavy-duty stapler and starts beating the poor receptionist over the head with it. The other thing that I want to emphasize is photographs. This is a real touching. It really depends on your industry. If you work with a lot of hostile people and you work in maybe a negative work environment, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, maybe you're doing batterers intervention programs and you're working with people with anger management issues. Of course, you all have your happy photos up at your desk so you can, you know, look at your lovely family members all day. But, you know, you just want to consider, if with the clientele that you're working with, maybe you don't want them to know what you look like. Just be aware of that issue. There are some places that do not allow family pictures up visible
because of these security issues. And you could always tape it discreetly down low or maybe inside your desk. I'm not sure how you want to do that, but it's something to consider. Technology. One of my favorite things, actually, if it's possible, are the buzzer doors for the front door, so that they can see you either visually through the glass door. They see you, or you have a monitor on that front door, and you can allow each person in. In this case, in Detroit, about 10 years ago, this guy had a beef with the radio station. No, TV station, and he was threatening, he was abusive, they recognized him as a threat. What do? They created a poster, they got a picture, they gave instructions, and then this is the actual footage. Before he shows up, or when he shows up, the receptionist did not let him in. Well, he's so mad, he pulls out a gun and just shoots someone else. Another ex-employee was coming by just to say hi, and he ended up shooting him. That person lived, thankfully, but the main thing is this guy was not able to come in. I've got another video, by the way. Look it up on my YouTube channel. Same situation as another radio station. The guy says, let me in. They said, no, I recognize you. I'm not letting you in. And he picks up a lamp that's they had a nice little lobby area with a table and chair and table, and he picks up a lamp and smashes the window, and then he gets in there, and then everyone pile drives on top of him. It's a great video. By the way, I'm sorry I'm not able to show videos in the webinar because the flicker rate, the desktop share does not really do well for video sharing. Unless we move to Google Hangouts, but that's another topic. All right, so duress alarms. The front desk people have to have a way to summon support. I'm not trying to do a pitch, but stick around when we talk about the e-panic button. But even so, look, I'll tell you a cheap, easy one. If you have no money, at Lowe's or Target or Home Depot, you can pick up these radio-controlled doorbells, and they're like $20. And this big unit gets plugged into an outlet. This tiny unit just takes like a AA battery, and it's a radio-controlled doorbell. But heck, it works as a cheap, not very reliable panic button as well. The other thing that I'm a big fan of is code words, because often people can say, well, let me see about that, Mr. Lee. Let me check in, and you make a phone call, and you drop the line about the green file or the red file or the birthday cake. And what that does is it lets the person know, hey, you got a situation going on, without tipping off that person. Ideally, I like to see systems that have some range of signals so you can demonstrate the level of concern, and of course redundancy is a good thing. Whatever system you put in place, have to have backup systems as well. Okay. By the way, all that I talked about, there's a great resource through ASIS. They've got their facilities physical security measures guidelines, and you can obtain that or contact me if you need to get a copy, and it covers all of these issues. Let's talk a little bit about crime prevention. This is really that was all about the location and policy and procedures. Let's talk about what you could do. And the number one thing, and I think every security person is going to agree with me here, the most important step is awareness. And it's a real challenge for front desk folks because they're doing so much. They're answering the phones, they're greeting people, they're making copies, they're typing out some transcript. But at the same time, there has to be this low-level, continual consciousness of what's going on around you, aware of who's entering, who's walking in, what's going on in your space around you. And this is true not just at the front desk, but this is you walking to your car at night, this is you walking down the hallway. Emergency management people, first responder types, they always know where the exit is. It's funny, when I go and sit with other security folks, we always fight over who has their back to the wall facing the front door. It's stuff like that. Please understand that even though I scared you earlier with the shooting at the courthouse with some guy coming in with a gun, the biggest crime stuff is good old, or the biggest threat is good old crime and people coming in there to steal. God, look at these old phones. I got to update this picture. No one has a phone like that anymore. But typically people come into workplaces, they're dressed, they look nice, they don't look like thugs, and they pretend that they're a client or a customer, and what they're doing is they're cruising around the offices looking for bags. How many people have their purse or their laptop on the desk or a purse underneath the desk, and these are all things that can easily be swiped. This is a larger espionage issue, but even though we're looking at things that they hawk in a pawn shop, depending upon your industry, people are also looking for data. They're looking for payment information like credit card stuff, personnel information. A lot of identity theft folks are really interested in some of these issues that we need to address. Oh, my audio was gone. Now it's back. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you. I'm glad that it's back. So I just found that question again about drills. What we can certainly do is practice, like at random times, like have people come in and test. Are they being checked? By the way, when we talk about drills, I'm flat out against any sort of active shooter drill that is unannounced. I've got some thoughts and feelings about active shooter drills, but I'm dead set against any sort of crisis management active shooter event that is unannounced. You certainly need to let all the participants know that they're in a drill. But one thing we want to test is have people, are they marking people? So when I talk about awareness, it means every time someone comes in, you for a second, you stop for a second and you say hello, make eye contact, and that is one of the biggest crime preventions. Criminals don't want to be recognized. Here's a drill that can be done. Have people come in, briefly make some interaction and leave, or walk by or whatever. But then after they're gone, have them describe that individual. And this is something when I was with the police department that I was trained with, and it was a really interesting skill. And because if I said, well, he was a white man, about 5'9", I think he had brown hair and brown eyes, and he weighed about 185. Wow, that's not too helpful. What you want to do is say, yeah, like he had a mole on the right side of his cheek. Oh, he had Converse sneakers, but he had red shoelaces. Yep. What else can I think? You notice that he had 3 earrings in his left ear. Little things like that really do help law enforcement when they're doing an investigation to identify the person. However, if it appears that the person is trying to hide their appearance, that's an issue as well. I'm here in the South, and thankfully, it's getting a little cooler. But someone wearing, a big sweater, hat, glasses indoors, does it look like they're trying to hide their identity? That's a warning sign. In that shooting in the courthouse in Arkansas, it was 91 degrees. Oh, look at that, November or September 13th, just about this time of the year. At that time, it was about 90 degrees, 92 degrees that day. And here he is. He comes in with a long trench coat. I'm sorry, anyone walking around with a big, long coat in the middle of the summer is a concern for me. I'm trying to remember if I've got this slide. When we talk about suspicions about, not only their clothes, but it could be large bags, I want to point you towards this new PDF that I came across. A police officer, a New York City police officer, came up with this chart, and let me know if you'd like to get a copy of this. Just I'll send it back to you. But he talks about how you could tell someone's carrying, and it's one way they could tell by their walk. Guns are heavy unless they've got a really good holster, and the way it's held. Even with the holster, there's tendencies that people try to protect and guards. Unconsciously, they guard that piece. For a lot of criminal types where it's in a pocket or in their waistband, it's not secure so that it's really obvious when someone is carrying it. I mean, I remember in Baltimore, and you watch guys running down the street and they're all having their hands behind their back trying to keep their piece from falling out of their pants. It's just a big concern. Oh, sure. Some people are requesting that. I'll make sure that gets out to you all. All right, let me just find out what's another. The other thing that I want to emphasize is the clothing as well. We could sure look at the weight. Guns weigh a lot. Even a small little .22 has a weight to it, so you could tell that there's an adjustment in their clothing. Other thing, inquisitive behavior, asking a lot of questions. I must be an awful suspect because I'm always like scoping places out and asking the receptionist for information. just to see what they'll tell me too. But that certainly is a warning sign. The other thing is I don't need a ski mask and black clothes and a crowbar to break into a place. I just need a clipboard. Have you all ever heard that? You can go anywhere you want if you got a clipboard and you start asking people questions. So that's a concern. The people who are requesting the handout, I'll make sure that you get it as well. So when we talked about drills, I want to emphasize again, practice people, a couple of things. Practice, identifying people, describing them after they've left, and then have someone show up and try to get past them. Pretend, go ahead and go to the Goodwill and get an old UPS uniform and have a dolly and a clip chart and see if you can get past the receptionist. That might be a good unannounced drill kind of thing. You certainly don't want to threaten anyone or do anything violent, but just test them for those sort of things. This is a real good, interesting one, and this is something that everyone could get practice on. Criminals often work in pairs, especially like pickpockets and street people on the street where they pick out tourists. And what happens is one person will engage you and they'll get your attention either in lots of different ways. Start a fight with you, or maybe they're very attractive and they're flirting with you, or whatever the issue might is. Maybe they'll make a spill. So try to imagine you got a receptionist and someone's got a soda and oops, they dump the soda all over the desk and you're like, you have to clean it up. Well, at that point, what's really going on is someone's coming around the other side and they're getting past you. They're stealing stuff. They're getting things. So the trick is, and this is really hard, are you ready? While you're being distracted, stop being distracted and do again the 360. What's going on in your environment? And that's a skill set that just takes some practice. All right. And yes, people, and the forward of the slides. Yes, okay. Probably what I'll end up doing is getting the list of everyone who attended, and I'll just pop out an email to everyone with these items. So if someone's acting suspicious, ask if you can help. Find out who they are, and people who are, who are up to no good are pretty, concerned and cagey, and they often act suspicious, so they'll want to leave. If you confront them, again, it's customer service. It's not like, hey, you dangerous, suspicious person, I don't trust you. It's like, can I help you? Who are you here to see, and who are you with? And follow that up. Okay, great. And can I get a number for that? And you could say it in a nice way. It's not saying that you don't trust them, but golly, it happens to me all the time. I'm Johnny Lee, peace at work. This is an office number. Here's my website. They shouldn't be concerned. If they do get past you, have your procedures for contacting. Setting some sort of notification. If they leave, while a description of them is really good, a better thing is their tag number, if you're able to get their license plate as well. I didn't know where to put this slide, so I threw it in here. The one thing I want to note for front desk professionals is often they are in charge of opening and closing. They kind of like, especially for small operations. And I just want to put out that's one of the most dangerous times that, especially actually believe it or not, at openings, at wherever 6 o'clock in the morning, in the wintertime, it's dark. Think about that location. Is there a good, easy place for people to hide? Do you have cameras? Do you have like concave mirrors? It's convex? Convex mirrors that you're able to see around corners and watch people behind your back. And then ideally, really not being alone is the safest thing. Like if you arrive and it's dark and walking out there you don't feel comfortable, stay in your car, have the engine running, be parked in a big open space where no one can sneak up to you. Wait for someone else to arrive that you work with so you can go in together. All right, how are we with time? Okay, what we need to talk about is have some fun with addressing hostile encounters. So this is not about crime, but this is more about the customers or maybe coworkers that you're dealing with. And the bottom line, folks, is that you can handle anything. I'm going to give some tips and tricks, but the big thing is for you to be centered, focused, balanced. If you're able to be in control of yourself, you can handle it. If you get angry or you get scared and nervous, then they've got you. I don't know what it is for you to, maybe it's counting to 10, maybe it's all these other factors, maybe it's taking up yoga or whatever it is to find your sense of balance, but
please understand in crisis situations, whether it's someone firing a gun or someone screaming their head off at you, is that there's going to be a emotional response. We're all mammals, right? I mean, I hope I don't offend you, but guess what? You're an animal, and you've got a biology behind you, adrenaline, heart rate, your breath. That's physically going to change your body. If I was, well, I'm not an intimidating person, but if a big scary guy was in your face screaming and yelling at you, poking you in the chest, your body is going to physically respond. You may be the type to say, bring it on, buddy, I'm ready for this, and I'm going to set you straight. Or you might be like Captain Jack Sparrow and just be like, I want to get out of here. But a big response, a very common one, is freezing. And all of these are bad because you're all out of control. It might be that running or fighting is the right thing to do. You have to control and make that decision to do that. One note I want to make is when people are really obnoxious and rude, they try to press your hot button. I'm sorry, I usually ask folks to throw in some ideas, and you could throw in some comments now if you'd like, but I'll just throw out a few. Like, people question your integrity, they question your ability to handle things. Then it gets really ugly with racial terms, and for women, there's sexist terms. Like, it's not even sexist. I'm not going to curse or use that foul language, but maybe they'll call you honey or babe. Hey, babe, look, let me help you out, babe. You don't know what's going on, and you just get the manager, right, honey? And it gets under your skin. It's a little insulting, and then with that, I'm not saying it's wrong to be offended. It's offended, and maybe you are, generally getting upset. It's wrong that it gets to you, that it's making you lose your professionalism. And I'm not saying you're wrong to do that, but I mean, when you start getting upset, you're no longer able to handle it accordingly, appropriately. And that's all right. That's where you get support. Get someone else. Take a 5-minute break away from this person. The main picture is to know that you're getting upset, and then you're able to handle it better. Now, I know none of you are going to wall up, like stand up, wind up, and deck the guy. And this happens all the time, right? It happened to you. I've probably done it myself, like being the passive-aggressive one. But, someone's really obnoxious, you don't like them, and suddenly I'm in the South, folks. Like, people are all like, oh, I'll bless your heart, or, oh, and they get all sweet, and they got all, like, supportive, and they kill them with kindness, but their whole goal is to make sure you fail. There's no way they want to see you succeed, and they know it. They know that you're being passive-aggressive, and it just feeds to the issue. I'm not saying that it certainly is better than being outwardly aggressive, but when you're passively aggressive, it's still not contributing to solving the problem. And when you got that going on, they know it, and they ramp up their aggression too. Okay, so what do you do about this? One of the big problems is, as a receptionist, is you're the face of the company, literally. I know, like, Steve Jobs is the face of Apple, but, well, he's passed away now, but, like, who would be able to speak to Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan, right? Now, I'm never going to be able to have an interview with him, but I can go to JP Morgan Chase in New York City and walk through that front desk. They probably have a security guard there, but I might be even get to the receptionist or the administrative assistant. And because I can't talk to whoever, the bigwig, and I'm upset about my power bill or whatever, I'm going to lay it out on you. And they're going to talk about you, your mother, the way you dress, and your haircut. But it's not about you, and that's the big issue. Even if they're insulting your integrity and your ability to do your job, they're just ranting, and it helps me to think it's not about that. The big thing with, maybe you aren't the type to get angry, but one thing that receptionists sometimes do, and I remember back in the day, it was all about, like, how can I help you? The customer's always right. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And they're like, oh, you're right. My bad. And there's this whole, like, hospitality attitude around serving the person, and there's some individuals, there's expert aggressors who identify people like that, and they just use them. They use them to bits. And so you cannot allow someone to intimidate you. If you always give in to their demands, it's true that they may not get violent, but then they got more and more control over you. And then at some point, they're going to do something that you really need to stop. Now, with all of this, whether you're afraid or you get angry, I'm throwing out some tips there. Wow, she looks kind of green, doesn't she? I got to adjust the the tint on that. But whatever it is, a lot of people have little quotes by their desk so they can remember some psalm or some verse that helps them stay focused. Whatever it is, oh, here's my tip. This works for me. Like whenever I'm in a tough situation and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what to do. I think about someone I respect, like a previous supervisor or someone in my personal life who I think is an awesome person, and I go, what would they do? So it's almost like the whole what would Jesus do sort of thing. If you're a Christian, what would Jesus do in the stance? You know, try to imagine that person handling it, and that kind of gives you an idea about how you could handle it. Okay, so you're in control, you're good, you're handling it well. What could we do from here? Oh, there's another point. Oh, another good word is a non-anxious presence. Thank you. That's a great point. We talk about being calm, clear, and collective. Another good way of putting it is saying having a non-anxious appearance. So what are we going to do when we got someone who's hostile? One thing that we could do certainly is do customer service. So they're angry, they're upset. It's your body language. I know you're answering the phones. I know you're answering emails and doing all this stuff, but you really have to stop and demonstrate that you're listening. And when you do talk, people don't really believe what you're saying. They believe how you're saying it. You know, it's the whole thing about, well, oh, you know, sort of like that whole passive-aggressive, oh, bless your heart kind of thing. You know, if there's real sincerity there and you keep your voice down, they'll believe it. One little trick, here's another tip. If someone's yelling at you purposely and you have to consciously, you can practice, here's another drill. Practice doing role plays and someone's yelling. The other person has to practice keeping their voice down. I just had an argument this morning. Someone starts raising their voice, I start raising my voice. They raise their voice louder, I start interrupting them and yelling louder back at them. It's called a fight. But if you could keep your voice down, then you could go really far. Yes, someone's mentioned the very important skill of reflective or active listening. In fact, don't talk. Let them talk. 90% of these incidents can be resolved if the person just feels that they're really being listened to. And when you do speak, it's not like, oh, let me show you what you got wrong, or let me tell you our perspective on that. First thing you say is make sure you understood what their issue is. Identify what their primary concern is, and that's something that could be practiced as well. Let someone go on a rant off on you and then say, well, let me get this right. These are the things that are causing concern, and this is how you feel about it. Do I have that right? What you're doing is you're building bridges with them. You're building rapport, and that's the essence of it's really about the violence prevention. It's about building those connections. Now, violence is ultimately about power and control. I don't care if we're talking about kids fighting over a ball or nations deciding whether they can get a natural gas pipeline going through another country. It's all about power and control, having control. And so what we need to do is provide them options. That individual came in here and they're upset because they're not getting what they want. What are those options that you can provide? You may not have that authority to grant them whatever their wishes are, but you could find that workaround to meet their needs. The main thing is don't say, no, I can't help you. There's sort of like the stereotypical Marge Simpson's sisters who work in the DMV and like, nope, you brought the wrong ID. You need to come back with the right ID. Sorry, can't help you. And it's that sort of, which makes us all hate going to the DMV. It's what can you do to support them? What can you do? There may be no options, but try to think of things so you're demonstrating that you're trying to work with them. Okay, here's another tip for receptionists. I hate this. I would never do this to someone else, but they do. Wait, this just happened the other day, I think, to me. The issue is that someone shows up and says, I want to see Johnny. And I go, oh my goodness, this client's driving me crazy. Hey, Carol, if Mr. Smith shows up, tell him I'm not here. Well, you know, so Mr. Smith shows up, I'm here to see Johnny. You're making her be a liar saying he's not here at the moment. The real problem is if she says, yes, he's not here, and then I come walking through the lobby to get a soda, he just made her a liar. I just made her a liar, and that's the problem. So here's a tip. She calls me and says, hey, Mr. Smith is looking for Johnny. Do you know where Johnny is? Because Mr. Smith is now in the lobby. Now I know that the guy I'm avoiding is in the lobby. So that was a neat tip. I learned that from doing this webinar, and someone threw that out, and I said, oh, I'm going to use that.
Solicitors, ex-employees, these are all, again, drills you can do. The real problem sometimes with ex-employees is they're sort of like this, oh, you know me, your kids play with my kids, I've been here forever, yeah, I got, not that they got fired due to misconduct, but maybe they moved on and went to another place. Can I just, I worked here forever, let me on through. And you just got to make sure you reserve, go back to the policy. You can't make it a personal thing. And good salespeople, good salespeople know how to work people's emotions. You got to just go back to the policy. Sir, I'm sorry. I don't want to lose my job. I'll get busted if I, let you through here. There's all things you can do like that. This is related to the banned individuals, but there's some factors where we're talking about ex-partners, like abusive stalking sort of folks, and also if you ever have to have the pleasure of working with someone who's under the influence, whether they're drunk, high, or it includes mental health issues as well. Can I just say some of the active listening, supportive sort of stuff really doesn't help. If someone's really not mentally there, a lot of those support measures really do not support, and I do suggest getting support, like support for you to address them, have them removed, have them leave. It just I've had plenty of long arguments with drunks, and they never went very far. Anyway, this is one of my favorite tips. Actually, that bugs me that thing. Why? See, it says it's fine there when I do that, and then when it. There we go. Okay, people get upset not because they're not getting what they want, but because it's an ego thing, right? So if there's an audience, whether they showed up with their family members, their friends, or it's the general public in the lobby, if they say, I'm not leaving here until I get my folder, well, you know what? They can't leave until they get their folder. It's not about the folder at all. It's about everyone else who goes, well, I'm trying to say this politely, you're a chump if you walk out of here without that folder now, because they just drew the line in the sand. And it's all about their ego. If you could talk to them privately in a safe place, either remove the audience or talk to them separately, they'll change their tune. There's plenty of examples like that. Another big tip, a lot of times one of the biggest things that people get upset about is waiting. Have you ever had to do that? I was in the health department the other day, or at this clinic, and I was waiting there an hour and a half, and I'm like, I can't believe I've been sitting here for an hour and a half, and I finally just left. Well, I said I was leaving and let them know I was going. But, when people get upset, feeding them is a huge thing. It's a breaking bread sort of thing. If someone's upset and angry, the fact that you shared food with them, you can't get mad at someone who feeds you. I think that's a general rule in life. Well, no, it doesn't always apply. But in general, like if you share food, it's a real gesture of hospitality and friendship. Also, maybe they're upset because they're hungry. Golly, I know I'm a little cranky when I'm peckish. So, just addressing the food need could help as well. Oh, well, I want to go back to food and audience. I don't know if anyone is in this situation, but kids always confuse everything and make things much more complicated. If you have children acting out in the lobby, one tip is be very, very, very careful about correcting another parent's child. Even if they know their kid's being wrong, it's a real hot button to correct a child in the presence of a parent. I hope you've never had to experience that, but it's an issue. Okay, receptionists often have to answer phones. Someone's got a point. Oh, yes, absolutely is applicable. Yes, it's kids. Boy, they complicate everything. The one thing I want to say is people might be really obnoxious and rude on the phone. The one thing I tell them, I often say, is do not simply hang up. You have the right to not take the abuse, but say, hey, sir, if you don't stop cursing and yelling, I'm going to have to hang up. Sir, you're continuing to yell. You can call back when we're able to have a civil discussion. Then hang up. If you just hang up on someone, it's infuriating. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but they could easily get in a car and come and find you. And then it certainly escalates it. So just be careful of that behavior. Bomb threats, golly, that's a whole other subject. It really falls under emergency management. But if it does occur, a couple of notes. I just want to say vast majority of bomb threats are false. Get as much information as possible, noting the time because they could track the call that way.
later on when if you don't have caller ID, they could track it through other means if you note the time. Any other background information. Very often it's someone that the organization knows, so you may be able to figure out it's a employee trying to get out of work that day or something like that. But of course, follow your protocols. If somebody crosses a line, meaning they're being so inappropriate, it needs to be addressed. This goes back to the fear issue. If you're so frightened and you always back up, and give in, at some point they're going to do something so inappropriate, it really needs to be addressed. And it's much harder to do it earlier on. So establish your line and maintain it. Don't be a doormat. The big factor I want to say is state what the behavior is. If they're cursing, say, sir, that language, we're in a public area, we don't have cursing in our environment. If it doesn't stop, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'll call security. We'll end our services with you, whatever it might be. But it's vital. Anyone who's got kids or dogs, cats don't matter because cats don't listen to you anyway, but you've got to follow through with any rules you set up. If you set up a rule and you don't follow through with it, then an expert aggressor will be like, bingo, I've got a sucker here. You've got to make sure that you follow through with your stuff. Now, if you feel threatened in any sense, and I can create this long list of when you're in danger, but listen to your gut. Again, we're all animals. In The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker, we all survived this long because we listen to our instincts when we're in danger. And so, that feeling in your pit of your stomach or the hairs on the back of your neck, or obviously you're directly in danger, follow through with it. Part of that is the heightened awareness. We talked earlier about concealed weapons. Think about that again. Do the quick review. What's a possible weapon? Could they be carrying a weapon? Oh, shoot, I'm going to add it right now. One of the most important things you can do always, why is that my bullet point different, is watch their hands. This is a real important issue. Whenever you feel like you have the potential for violence, a real important issue is to again, keep the 360-degrees awareness, but can you see their hands? Do you see where their hands are going? I'm going to have to do a separate training on this at some point. But it's all about like their attitudes, their body positions, their eyes, and most importantly, where are their hands going? It's a big issue. Think about backing out. Can you get away? Always be thinking about your escape route so that you could leave. Getting help is a real important point. And then again, we talked earlier about code words or panic buttons or whatever it is, but get that support, whether it's, having someone come in to offer you support, or you're notifying others that you've got a serious security situation so they could intervene. Bottom line, how are we with time? Just about there, is leave. I don't care if they're destroying furniture, if they're destroying your laptop. I'm assuming no one here is security. No one here is a security officer. It's not your job to physically intervene. Now, if you're defending yourself or defending others, that's a separate subject and that's something else. But bottom line, your number one job is maintaining your safety and the safety of others, and the best way to do that is being out of dodge. I studied martial arts for years, and the best defense, we could talk about dodges, kicks, or dodges, blocks, and stuff like that. The best defense is all of just getting away, being out of range, not letting them even possibly get near you. That is it, folks. I hope this was helpful. Yes, I saw the number of folks requesting a copy of the presentation and that doohickey with the firearms. I'll put this out there. Oh, the Naval Yard incident thing, I think we're looking at 12:30 Eastern Time. I think it's 11:30 Central Time. So 12:30 LinkedIn. I'll send a link too as well to that. But if you go to the LinkedIn group, you can find it. I don't think I have it up on any of my websites yet, which is bad of me, but please consider that. Oh, hey, okay, this was free, and I hope you found it valuable still. So the way we make it free is, well, I've got this new threat assessment tool, but the other thing we got is this e-panic button, and let's say this is great for receptionists. They could click on they can mouse over this thing and click, and it sends out pop-up alerts. You can hit your keyboard, or we have foot pedals. We also have new remote buttons as well. So if you've got a room without a computer, we've got remote buttons, and it sends out pop-up alerts, text messages, and emails. Let me show it to you real quick. Oh wait, oh, you're welcome. I'm seeing
people saying thank you and you're welcome. All right, do you all see down by my clock, like down by the bottom right of my screen, there's a little red circle. I mouse over it. Support is for low-level concerns like this guy's a jerk, or security is like help, I'm in danger. You can edit these. You can have 5 buttons. You can have 1 button. You can change the icons. You can have a medical alert button. You can have a 911 call 911 button that tells other people to call 911 is to call it directly. Whatever. But I'm going to click this, and boom. Wait. Here's my audible alarm. Boom. So you hear this, an alarm goes off. This thing pops up saying, security is needed for Johnny, who's up on the balcony, and you could do a lot of cool stuff like that. So if you're interested, oh, I think I got another poll. That's right, I created another poll for that. Oh, you like that thing? Great. Tell you what, no obligation. We're really like cool. There's a free trial for it, or if you just want info, I'm launching a little thing. If you all want info or want us to set up a demo with you, let us know, and I'd be glad to send you information or a demo. You know, I'll set this up, and you can set up on your desktop. The real beauty of this program is you can roll it out to, golly, you can roll it out to an entire campus. We've got this for state agencies, like across the state of very large states, and you know, you can roll it out in a single day, and then you can push out other programs as well. So it's really cool. And it comes with this really neat administrative thing where, let me just show you real quick. Let's say you've got a threatening person. I'm going to my default group, and I'll look at my buttons, and let's say Johnny just got fired, and you're worried about Johnny showing up. So we're creating a Johnny button. Yes, you get our very own Johnny button. And we'll give it that. And we'll make this Johnny's here. Run. Okay. And just real quickly, I'm just going to set up a quick load back to myself. By the way, this change that I'm making, you could change this for one person or everyone in your group, or across the entire state, like across thousands of users. It's that simple to push out. Man, it's taking a while. I think it's because of the desktop share. All right, so I push that out. I go down here. I refresh my profile. Oh, that's because I got 2 with the same button. Oh, that's I had 2. But there's my Johnny button, see? And then I had the security one put in there twice. So boom. Johnny's here, run. See how fast I was able to create a brand new button? That was pretty cool. And I made a mistake and had 2 with the same hotkey. That's where we're getting the error. Folks, thank you, thank you. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Obviously, because I forgot to show you the program. Hopefully now you could see it. I'm mousing over, click the Johnny button, and then there we go. There's our pop-up with the audio. I just played the little audio. So I didn't mean to do such a long demonstration. I'd be glad to do this again for you all if you like. But oh my goodness, I got to go horseback riding. I got to go to the stables. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your help. Join us Friday. You know what? I'm going to put that on the Rampage report. So that incident we're having coming up on Friday, go to Rampage, report.com, and right up here I'm going to put a link to that incident, the things. Thank you very much. Oh, you care stuff. Wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe, and I wish you the best. All right, take care now. Bye-bye.